Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a hidden, almost exclusive skill. Honestly, it's the one thing that truly separates the absolute top performers from the rest of the pack in our hyper-connected, super noisy world. And no, it's not just about raw talent, and it is definitely not about grinding 20 hours a day. It's actually something much more precise.
So, you gotta wonder, why is it that some people just seem to achieve 10 times more with the exact same 24 hours that we all have? Well, Professor Cal Newport studied some of the most accomplished minds in history to figure this out, and what he found is exactly what we're unpacking today. It's a concept he calls deep work. Basically, it's this incredibly rare ability to just completely tune out the noise and dive headfirst into hard, meaningful work for hours at a time. And as you'll see, it's pretty much the definitive answer to unlocking elite, next-level output.
Okay, let's get right into it with Section 1, the distraction paradox.
Let's be real, everything in life is speeding up, right? But there's a weird paradox here. As the world gets more chaotic and demanding, distraction-free focus becomes incredibly rare, which means it also becomes incredibly valuable. Think about shallow work for a second. You know the stuff. Checking emails, tweaking document formats, sitting through yet another endless meeting. These tasks keep you busy, sure, but they don't really move the needle. Now contrast that with deep work. Stuff like writing an article, researching a really complex topic, or literally learning a brand new skill. Deep work is the stuff that rapidly builds your abilities and creates exceptional value. If you can just manage the shallow stuff efficiently and fiercely protect your focus, you're going to accomplish way more in a fraction of the time.
Moving on to Section 2, the neuroscience of mastery. So why exactly does deep work let you produce at such an elite level? Well, we can actually look at the brain for this. It all comes down to this substance called myelin. Basically, any skill eventually reduces down to brain circuits made up of billions of neurons. When you get better at a really challenging task, your brain develops more of this fatty tissue, the myelin, which actually wraps around those specific neurons. It acts like an insulator, making them fire faster and cleaner. So to be great at something is literally to be well myelinated. By applying intense, completely uninterrupted focus, you're forcing a specific neural circuit to fire over and over again in isolation, which physically cements the skill in your brain. Now, compare that to trying to learn JavaScript while your TikTok feed is open right next to you. You'd just be randomly firing way too many circuits all at once, totally bogging down your brain, and making rapid learning pretty much impossible. But here's the thing. Building myelin is really only half the battle. The other half is avoiding a massive, hidden trap known as attention residue. Business professor Sophie Leroy actually discovered that when we switch from task A to task B, our attention doesn't just instantly follow along. A chunk of your mind actually gets stuck back on task A. I mean, it might seem totally harmless to just quickly check your inbox every 15 minutes, but every single time you do that, you introduce a new target for your attention. That lingering cognitive cost, it leaves your brain in this weirdly fragmented state, which makes elite production neurologically impossible. And beyond just productivity, there's actually a profound psychological benefit to all of this. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi did a lot of research into when people actually feel the happiest. And guess what? It wasn't when they were just chilling on a beach somewhere. It was when they were completely, utterly absorbed in a difficult, worthwhile task, a mental state he famously called flow. Well, deep work is absolutely one of the best ways to trigger flow. And flow leads directly to a sense of true happiness and personal fulfillment. It turns out your reality is ultimately shaped by what you choose to focus on.
All right, Section 3, find your deep work style.
Deep work is definitely not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. So let's quickly look at 4 distinct styles you can try out. First up is the monastic approach. Just like a monk retreating from society, people who use this style disconnect almost completely. We're talking rarely using email, no social media, the whole shebang. They dedicate massive, uninterrupted chunks of time to their work, eliminating shallow tasks entirely. A really great example of this is the sci-fi writer Neil Stephenson. He successfully eliminated basically all forms of shallow work from his professional life, just so he could focus entirely on writing those massive, complex novels he's so famous for. Next, we've got the bimodal approach. This one is all about balance. You basically create distinct blocks of time, maybe even entire days, dedicated purely to deep work, and then leave the rest of your time for your normal day-to-day shallow tasks. The famous psychologist Carl Jung actually utilized this beautifully. He would regularly retreat to this rustic house out in the forest for intense deep work, but then he'd come right back to the city to maintain his busy clinical practice. He literally operated in 2 completely distinct modes. Then we have the rhythmic approach. And honestly, this one is super effective for the average knowledge worker stuck in a traditional 9 to 5 job. Instead of, vanishing to a cabin in the forest, you just make deep work a daily habit. You block out specific hours every single day, creating this steady, consistent rhythm of focused work that fits securely right around your standard work hours. It's really just about building a daily drumbeat of concentration. Finally, there's the journalistic approach. Now, Newport warns that this is definitely an advanced method. It involves fitting deep work into literally any unexpected free time within a highly unpredictable schedule. The journalist and biographer Walter Isaacson used this exact method to write entire books. He could seamlessly snap his brain from normal work mode into intense writing mode the very second he found a spare 30 minutes. Pretty incredible, right? But look, whichever style you end up choosing, you absolutely have to build a customized ritual to actually make it stick. You need to ask yourself a few questions. Where specifically are you going to work? For exactly how long? What are your strict rules? Like, are you banning the internet entirely? And crucially, how do you end it? Newport really emphasizes creating a shutdown phrase, like literally saying shut down complete out loud. I know it sounds a bit silly, but it acts as a powerful psychological trigger to tell your brain the workday is officially over, allowing you to actually recharge for the next day. Next up, Section 4, Training to Embrace Boredom. Okay, here is the harsh truth. Our brains are just utterly addicted to constant stimulation. We constantly fight against boredom by instantly reaching into our pockets for our smartphones the very second we have a free moment. So to fix this, you've got to embrace a wildly counterintuitive strategy. The quote goes, "Don't take breaks from distraction, take breaks from focus." What this actually means is, instead of trying to focus all day and taking quick little breaks to check the internet, you should rigidly schedule your internet and TV time. By blocking out exactly when you are allowed to be distracted, you force yourself to sit with boredom for the rest of the day. You're literally training your brain to stop expecting an instant hit of gratification every single minute. Another fantastic training method to try is productive meditation. This is where you practice intense mental focus during an automatic, low-effort physical activity. Think walking the dog or taking a shower. You pick one specific problem to solve, and whenever your mind inevitably drifts off, you gently but firmly pull it back into focus. It sounds incredibly simple, but trust me, it is surprisingly difficult at first. Think of it exactly like lifting weights. You are putting in the reps to build the physical muscle of mental focus. And that brings us to Section 5, Taming Your Digital Life. If you really want to reclaim your time, you've got to try a strict 30-day cleanse. Look, social media platforms are literally engineered in a lab to fragment your attention. So, step 1, start by stopping. Just log out of everything immediately, and no, you don't need to post an announcement about it. Step 2, observe and reflect for 30 days. Notice how your mood and your productivity change. Step 3, evaluate. Did anyone actually care that you were gone? Was your life notably worse? And finally, step 4, decision time. Only reintegrate the tools that offer you crystal clear value. The ultimate question you always need to be asking yourself is this: am I using this tool or is it using me? Because honestly, when you scale this kind of intense focus up, the results are staggering. Let me give you an example. In 2007, the software company Basecamp made a pretty bold move. They reduced their entire work week by 20%, down to just 4 days. And the result? Their productivity stayed sky high. By strictly budgeting out their shallow work and focusing intensely on deep, meaningful tasks in the hours they actually had left, they proved that when people have fewer hours, they focus more. They batch the shallow stuff and they prioritize the deep. Which brings us to a really powerful, lingering realization to close out our explainer today. I want you to challenge the idea that you always need to be busy or that you need to be constantly connected. Try to create some space in your life, because that space, that's exactly where your best ideas are hiding. You don't need more time, you need more focus. In a noisy, chaotic world, the ability to go deep isn't just a fun productivity hack. It is your ultimate career superpower. So what shallow tasks are you going to eliminate today to finally find your focus?